The unveiling of Nigerian national carrier Nigerian Air has generated a lot of controversy at the tail end of the former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The Nigerian Civil Air Aviation Authority, NCAA, have rejected an application from the nation's national carrier seeking certification to proceed to phase 2 in the process of obtaining our air operator's certificate. Well, joining me to look at the challenges facing the implementation or the actualization of this and other issues around the aviation sector is an aviation analyst, Mr. Olumide Onwayo. Thank you so much. It's good to have you this Monday afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm going to start with the much-awaited Nigerian Air. And finally, we saw that before the end of President Buhari's administration. You are a player in that industry. Bring us up to speed with developments around it. Where are we? Because we as Nigerians, we would like to fly Nigerian Air.
Well, you have other options as Nigerians that I must tell you, and that Nigerian investors that are in the space at the moment have been very tremendous. We've had about 4 to 5 airlines that's come up in the last 3 to 4 years, and then this Benin airline, Rano Air, just came up. You have United Nigerian Airlines, and then you have Green Africa. Before then, Ibom Air joined the fray and Green Africa. All these airlines were not in existence when the immediate past minister came to the power. And here Nigerians who have set up these airlines have met with a minimum of 3 aircrafts in their stable, and these airlines are here today with the certification. Even Nigerian Eagle almost had the certification. The document was ready. Then the politics came to play that, well, if Nigerian will get certification, you probably take the shine of Nigerian Air, and they held on to that document and did not release it. They had completed the whole process with 737s. So now you have a former minister who has spent the last 8 years going from Farnborough in England to Nigeria to Dubai to Qatar to Addis Ababa, asked people to join in betting the national carrier called Nigerian Air, whereby the government was only going to have about 5%. And along the line, a lot of things happened. It was bungled, badly done. And what did we have at the end of the day? A static display of an aircraft owned by the Ethiopian Airlines. That was what we saw last Friday, that May 27, just before May 26, before they departed on the 29th. And the industry is embarrassed. We feel very bitter that after all the funds sucked into that project, all we could get was a static display of an aircraft that was not owned by Nigeria. The aircraft was owned by Ethiopian Airlines that operated to Israel on Monday. The Monday before that Friday, flew back to Addis Ababa, got painted for the Nigerian Air Show, flew down as a chartered flight. Not as an Ethiopian airline charter flight, flew to an Ethiopian charter flight on Friday, and departed Abuja for Addis Ababa on Saturday, carrying revenue passengers. And purported aircraft that was supposed to be owned by Nigerian Air. So it was just the display has been done, and the aircraft has gone back. And like you said in your news analysis, there's no Nigerian Air. The man said, he told the whole world that Nigerian Air was going to fly on that Friday, 26th of May. The airline only came for a static display with the sticker of Nigeria on that body, and I'm sure as that aircraft was leaving, it even had the Ethiopian registration number on the aircraft. So as the aircraft was leaving, I'm sure they would have removed the sticker on getting to Addis Ababa, but probably the wind took it off, because in order to deceive Nigerians again, there was the water cannon salute for that aircraft. You only do that water cannon salute for airlines that are operating into your airport with a new schedule. And their first operation, that's when you do that water salute. But what did we have for a static display, and they brought our water tanks out there at the Abuja airport to welcome?
But I'd like to ask you that, what impact will this really have on our local operators if it comes to fishing? Because I think the argument there has been the local guys can also play in this market. They have the capacity. So, but if this happens, what really is the impact, or what do you think is the impact?
There's no impact. You see, the more the merrier. And with the deregulation of the petrol now, you are sure that you are going to have more people flying. So the more the money, let them come in. But why the operators are against the process right now is that the government is not sincere about it. You are not giving a level playing field, because look, the other players are investors, just like those Nigerians that you are bringing into the Nigerian air project. So why should you give them more protection than the existing players who have kept the economy going? Then why will you give this new airline 15 year tax moratorium to compete with the other airlines that are paying taxes? So these are the issues that made the AON to oppose it and go to court and say, no, this cannot stand. And I support the position of the AON on that.
Interesting stuff. Well, let's now look at the news today. IATA is saying that foreign airlines are still being owed more than $800 million. This is something I know we've talked about before now. Yes. And we know what's happening with scarcity of Forex and, of course, how these airlines cannot repatriate their funds. Any updates with regards to this?
Well, what you've noticed that of late the airlines are now accepting. One or two of them have gone to the government and said, "Look, give us what you can give to us, even at any rate." And the rate they give to those airlines is higher than the rate they sold. So they are at a loss. There are some losses incurred by one or two airlines who accepted that. For some, they said no, they would rather wait to get it at the rate at which they sold, which is what is in the bilateral air services agreement. Bilateral air services agreement is between two countries and your airlines. So now, if the bilateral air services I sell tickets based on on this window at this price, I'm expect that whatever money I make at that period will be remitted at that rate of exchange, not a higher one. So I think what happens is that those one or two airlines that accepted the higher exchange rate of about 600 naira are those who have maybe had experience of what happened in Venezuela. As of today, Venezuela is the only country that is owning foreign airlines more than Nigeria, based on their historical data. I think they have almost about $2 billion owed by airlines. And some have learned their lesson there. So what they're trying to do is just get their money out as quickly as possible and in whatever means. And for those who are not panicking, they're still operating. And rather than sell at the lower fare, what they've done is to cushion this effect that the fares are now being sold at the higher rate. The lower windows and lower fares are close to the Nigerian program. That's why you see now that the ticket fare is expensive on the Lagos route to any of the countries outside Nigeria.
The single African air transport market is also something that I think is very important. We're talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area. So if we have a single African air transport market, it seems like this might work together. What is your take looking at the jobs this could create and, of course, increase in GDP funding?
Do we have a choice now? Because the single air traffic market is here. After trade is also there, yes. and all have been done to unite Africa and make Africa one big market. Now, for the SATAM, the single air traffic market, there's more of that oratory prowess in the process than of actual action, because most of the airlines are practically not ready, and those who are ready, you have the barrier, the entry and exit barrier, and the language barrier, the French and the French speaking and English speaking. I think we need to close all those little gaps, the barrier, the language barrier, the immigration facility, and visa here, or now to quickly get in and get into this country and get out. When we're able to close all that, then we'll be able to move the air transport, which is almost the last of on that list, to join them. But you see, the air transport market must be prepared to partake in this, and in doing it, they cannot do it alone. We have to improve the barrier to entry. We have to improve the visa requirements, and also we have to work on a common monetary policy. As you improve trade, you also improve movement. And as you improve movement, then air traffic would move. But you see, for us in Nigeria, we need to prepare ourselves. And that's why you see they call for the Nigerian air team, because we have been seen as being big fish in our own water, and we're not going beyond the Nigerian airspace. So it's time for the Nigerian airlines. I think they should use this failure of the Nigerian air now to consolidate themselves and see how we can move from domestic champions to regional champions. And in doing that, there must be a kind of consolidation and cooperation within Nigerian operators right now. 2-3 aircraft, MD cannot do what we want to do on the West Coast. There must be some form of consolidation, whether voluntary or involuntary.
We also see that, as many would say, if we are to look at the past administration's giant strides in the aviation sector, will be the inauguration of some new airports. And many are talking about that. How will you react to that? And of course, how we doing with regards to cargo airports? We need to start to move agricultural produce and all of that.
Yeah, you know, in the past, the airports was under the federal government.
Yeah.
Now, I think they just signed recently now that it's a concurrent and the states alone, states were only allowed to build cargo airports. And that's why you see almost all the airports they are building, they are named cargo because that was what the law. But how many of them have actually operated cargo airports? But you see, these airports are here now. And if you notice what happened in the last 2 years, anybody that finished building this airport quickly hands it over to the federal government. It happened in Ebonyi State.
Yes.
It happened in Gombe.
Yes.
It happened in Damaturu. About 4 or 5 airports like that. And they're piling pressure on the same organization that we are saying are not providing enough services with the airports they have. So if only Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt airport are profitable and we're adding more, they must be able to do something to make that organization as big as it is to become very a bit viable and improve their commercialization. And that needs to be done because FAN, as presently constituted, cannot successfully manage all those airports and all those borders they're adding to them, and the political interference that comes to place in appointment and the employment of people within the organization. So, but again, the airports are here. You cannot go and ask them to close and they build them. We must just find a way to utilize them, let activities get into those airports, and that is the job of the authorities, the president managers of those airports, to ensure that flights operate into those airports. And you can do that by just looking at so many things, looking at the cost of operation. You can bring that down to attract airlines in. You might even call investor partners to come and look at the airport and see what else they can be done. There. It might be an MRO, like MRO is a maintenance and repair organization. It might be a cargo company to come and use it as build a cargo terminal. There's so many, even a training school or the non-commercial aviation field, come and use for your training. So many things can be done. But you see, once they are here, do not abandon them. We must look for enablers to ensure that those airports operate.
Interesting stuff. Well, we have a new administration and a lot of agenda setting is on at the moment. So what would you say are quick wins in Nigeria's aviation sector? Because I think those are the things that we should start to look at. They are difficult to have quick wins, right? But you know that we need to
Tolu, don't whine me. Don't take me towards that side. And I sincerely, the incoming, I welcome the new government that has just...
What kind of minister do you expect to see in the aviation?
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Now, the person coming in has a lot of landmines waiting for him, so I do not envy that person. And he cannot come with that word as, oh, let's bygone be bygone, we want to move. There's no way he can move. You have litigations waiting, both in the concession of the airports, and those and for the Nigerian air project. You have issues with the union, outstanding consequential adjustment in payments. A strike was called off, and they were giving some days to, and those days have not lapsed. Then you still have the general discomfort among the staff of the agencies, based on the people appointed over them, directors brought in, and expanding of department into full directorate, increasing the expenditure of the agency. So there's so many landmines that the person coming cannot just come in and say he wants to move forward. He has to first put a fence, stop the bleeding, look back and start a thorough staff and financial audit of all the agencies. It is very important. You can't just move. So it's when we have done that, then we can ask, okay, yes, what is the next stage? And what can we now, how do we now move the industry? You must first stop the bleeding. You must first bring out the morale of the occupants in the agencies, the staff of the agencies. You must do all that. Or else we just continue struggling again for another 8 years. And you see, and it's so shameful that we have a category 1 safety certification, yet we are not being able to attract foreign direct investment based on all these dirty policies of not obeying, following the rule of law, and not showing some level of efficiency and non-interference and independence of the regulator. So we need to first address those things before we start moving forward. And coming and looking at the positive, the wins that we're looking at, I think the only win we need now is just how to increase the number. Number here is how do we increase the number of passengers that fly on the Nigerian route, domestic and international. how do we increase the revenue generation of the industry? And
There's
how?
hike in aviation fuel, so that price hike might have come to stay.
But luckily, yeah, as the PMS has gone up now,
Yes.
aviation fuel and diesel are coming down. Are coming down. So there'll be some benefits there. So I just there'll be that equilibrium between meeting the coming down price of aviation fuel that they use and then the same premiums they use to drive their ground transport and other services within the offices. You know, I hope there will be that equilibrium. But I tell you, most importantly for us now is increasing the numbers, and that increasing numbers means increasing passengers traveling, increasing revenue generation for the industry, and most importantly, contributing more and increasing the GDP, aviation GDP to the economy.
So are you in tune with IATA saying that projection is looking better as we move on in the year, almost doubling what they earlier projected for the year?
Exactly. You see, luckily for us, with this security situation has also driven some people permanently to the air transport services, irrespective of our delays and other consequential troubles within the industry. So all we now need to do is how to capitalize on these gains. Now, the PMS that has now been regulated has made the transport road transport fare astronomical. So we're expecting more people. So how do we capitalize? We need to now build a new level of airlines now. They're already in place. They need to now look at that structure, maybe making a low-cost fare out of their services that can run shuttle or make quick flights and at a reduced price to make more people come in and fly. And that's the priority we all have. It cannot be only for the minister. The industry in totality must partake in having this. And in doing this, we must work on things that causes delay. We must look at how to drive cost, bring down the cost of operation, and also see how the agencies and government can help with the taxes and other charges in place.
Also, the labor unions will be work hard. You know what happened a few weeks ago before the end of the administration? Billions of naira lost in that way. Just let's wrap up on that note. It should be more of negotiations these days other than total shutdown. Sincerely,
I totally agree.
Look at the loss.
I totally agree with you, and I think we're talking to the labor unions to look at to put some human face in the strike and see how they can allow those who want to go to work, and allow our passengers to get to the airport and they can catch a flight. You must particularly deal with the organization you have problem with, rather than lock up the whole airport for a problem. You have only one organization. The last one had to do with the Imo State government, and they were targeting the Lagos-Owerri flights. But in that process, they disrupted other flights, and also they made some passengers miss their flight. And I think these are the things we would have to cover as the new minister comes in. I
must thank you so much, Mr. Lumdo Nwayo. It's really nice to have you in the studio. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then.